Welcome back, everyone, for another deep dive.
Yeah.
Today we're tackling a pretty big one, the
Yeah, it's
future.
a big topic for sure.
It is, and I think we all think about it,
Hmm.
what's coming next.
Absolutely.
But we're not talking about flying cars or, specific predictions like that. We're diving into the nature of the future itself,
Right.
how it works, how much control we have, all that jazz.
I like it.
And to guide us, we've got some fascinating material from a spiritual teacher named David.
Right?
Now, here's the twist. He was speaking through another person, also named David.
Interesting.
Yeah, so a little layered there, but trust me, the ideas are mind-blowing.
Okay, well, I'm intrigued. I'm ready to dive in.
All right, well, let's jump right in. So one of the first things that struck me was this idea that the future isn't fixed, like it's not set in stone.
Yeah, that's a common misconception, isn't it?
Yeah.
We tend to think of the future as this predetermined path.
Right, like it's already written.
Exactly. But the source material presents a very different perspective. It talks about millions of potentials.
Millions of potential. So instead of just one straight line from now to the future, there are like countless branches and possibilities.
Precisely. It's like, imagine one of those choose-your-own-adventure books.
Oh, yeah, I loved those as a kid.
Right. Every decision, every turn in the story opens up new pathways leading to completely different outcomes.
Okay, I'm starting to get the picture. So it's like, maybe that time I decided to learn how to knit instead of, taking that extra shift at work wasn't just a random whim.
Yeah.
It was like a decision point that nudged my life onto a slightly different trajectory.
Exactly. And that's the power of choice. Even seemingly small decisions can create ripple effects, shaping not only our personal future, but potentially influencing the broader landscape of possibilities.
Wow, that's a lot to wrap my head around.
It is.
If there are millions of potentials, how do we even begin to make sense of it all? I mean, does it mean every little decision could send us spiraling into a completely different dimension?
Well, it's not quite that chaotic.
Okay, good.
While the idea of infinite possibilities is fascinating, the source material emphasizes that our present actions have the most potent influence on what unfolds. It's about recognizing the power of the now.
So it's less about obsessing over every little choice and more about focusing on being present and making conscious decisions in this moment.
Exactly. It's not about trying to map out every possible future scenario, but rather about being mindful of the energy and intentions we bring to our present actions. That's where our true power lies.
Okay, that feels a bit more manageable. But there's another part of this that really caught my eye, this whole idea of a quantum shift in consciousness.
Yeah, that's a key concept.
What exactly does that mean?
Well, it's described as a significant acceleration in human evolution, a leap forward in our collective awareness and understanding.
And this isn't just some vague, far-off prediction. They actually put a time frame on it.
That's right. The source mentions a potential timeline centered around November 17, 2024.
Wow, that's practically right around the corner.
Right.
What's interesting is they don't seem to present this as a doomsday prophecy, but rather as a point of rapid transformation.
Right. It's described more as a tipping point, a moment where the light on the planet reaches a critical mass, potentially leading to a shift in our collective reality.
Okay, hold on. Light. Can you break that down a little? Are we talking literal light, or is this more of a metaphor?
It's definitely metaphorical. It refers to the collective consciousness of humanity evolving towards greater compassion, understanding, and connection.
So as more individuals choose love over fear, connection over separation, that somehow adds to this light, accelerating the shift.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
And it leads to a fascinating paradox. The source suggests that focusing on our own individual growth and enlightenment isn't selfish. It's actually the most impactful way to contribute to this collective shift.
So it's not about neglecting our own needs to save the world, but rather about recognizing that our personal evolution is intertwined with the evolution of the whole.
Precisely. It's
Yeah.
like each individual becomes a beacon, radiating a light that illuminates the path for others. And the more beacons there are, the brighter the collective light becomes.
That's a powerful image.
It is.
So we're all kind of like little light bulbs.
In a way, yes.
And the brighter we shine, the more we contribute to this larger shift.
Exactly. And that's where things start to get really interesting.
Okay, well, I'm definitely hooked. I want to hear more about this. So how do we actually cultivate that inner light? How do we make ourselves shine brighter?
It's a great question.
Yeah.
And that's what we'll explore in the next part of our deep dive.
Sounds good. I'm ready when you are.
All right, let's take a short break and we'll come back to uncover some more of these fascinating ideas. It's a powerful idea, isn't it? That our own self-discovery can actually contribute to a larger shift in human consciousness.
It is. But if this quantum shift is fueled by individual growth and enlightenment, what does that actually look like in practice? Is there like a roadmap, a set of instructions?
Well, the source material doesn't offer a rigid set of rules. It's more about cultivating self-awareness and a deeper connection to our inner wisdom.
So it's less about checking things off a to-do list and more about tuning in to our own internal compass.
Exactly. The teachings emphasize practices like meditation, mindfulness, spending time in nature, things that help us quiet the mental chatter and create space for inner listening.
So it's like learning to trust our intuition, those gut feelings that often guide us towards what feels right, even if it doesn't always make logical sense.
Precisely. It's about recognizing that we have this inner wisdom that often speaks to us in subtle ways. And as we cultivate that connection, we become more aligned with the flow of the universe, which can lead to greater ease and synchronicity in our lives.
You know, it's funny, thinking back to that knitting thing I mentioned, it wasn't a decision I made based on logic or any grand plan.
Right.
Something inside me just said, do it.
And look where it led you. Sometimes those seemingly random impulses are actually guiding us towards something much greater.
Okay, I'm definitely feeling more intrigued by this whole trusting the flow thing. But what about the curveballs? The unexpected challenges, the setbacks, the moments that make us question everything.
Well, the source material acknowledges that there will always be challenges and obstacles. It's part of the human experience. But it emphasizes that these challenges are not meant to break us, but rather to help us grow.
So it's about seeing these difficult experiences as opportunities for learning and transformation.
Exactly. It's about shifting our perspective from, why is this happening to me, to what is this teaching me?
That's a powerful reframe. It reminds me of that quote, the obstacle is the path. Maybe those moments when we feel most lost or challenged are actually the times when we're being guided most powerfully.
It's an interesting thought, isn't it? What if those seemingly negative experiences are actually catalysts for profound growth and transformation?
I'm starting to see how this all ties together. It's like we're being called to step into a more conscious and empowered way of being, to recognize that we have a role to play in shaping not only our own future, but also the future of humanity.
And that brings us back to this idea of the quantum shift. What if this shift isn't just about some external event or cosmic intervention? What if it's about each individual choosing to step into their full potential, to embrace their own light and contribute to a brighter collective future?
So it's not about waiting for some external force to save us or fix the world. It's about recognizing that we are the change makers we've been waiting for.
Precisely. It's about realizing that the power to create a more loving, just, and sustainable world lies within each and every one of us.
That's both incredibly empowering and a little daunting. If we're each responsible for contributing to this shift, what are some practical steps we can take? Where do we even begin?
Well, the source material offers a surprising and perhaps counterintuitive answer. It all comes back to self-love.
Wait, seriously, self-love is the key to saving the world. I know self-care is important, but this feels like a bit of a leap.
It might sound simplistic, but the teachings emphasize that by cultivating self-acceptance, compassion, and kindness towards ourselves, we become more capable of extending that same love and compassion to others.
So it's not about being self-absorbed or narcissistic. It's about recognizing that our own well-being is essential for creating positive change in the world.
Exactly. It's like the oxygen mask analogy.
Yeah.
You have to put on your own mask first before you can help others.
Okay, I can see how that makes sense. But what does self-love actually look like in practice? Is it about bubble baths and face masks, or is there something deeper going on here?
It's about making choices that nourish your body, mind, and spirit. It's about setting healthy boundaries, honoring your needs and desires, and speaking to yourself with kindness and respect.
So it's about treating ourselves with the same care and consideration we would offer to someone we love deeply.
Yes, and recognizing that we are worthy of that love and care. It's about understanding that we are not separate from the web of life, but rather an integral part of it. And as we cultivate self-love, we naturally become more connected to that web, more compassionate towards others, and more capable of contributing to the well-being of the whole.
This is starting to paint a very different picture of what it means to be a change maker. It's not just about grand gestures or fighting for external causes. It's about the daily choices we make, the way we treat ourselves and others, the energy we bring to our interactions.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that every thought, every word, every action has a ripple effect. And by choosing love over fear, kindness over judgment, and connection over separation, we become part of a larger movement towards a brighter future.
I'm really starting to see the interconnectedness of it all. Our personal journeys of self-discovery are intertwined with the evolution of humanity as a whole. And by embracing self-love as a practice, we're not just benefiting ourselves, we're contributing to a collective shift in consciousness. It's pretty amazing how much this conversation has like shifted my perspective on things. It's like a whole new way of looking at the future. But there's one thing I'm still kind of wrestling with, this idea of a quantum shift happening so soon. Like, what might that actually look like in the
Hmm.
world around us?
Yeah. It's tough to say for sure. The source material doesn't really get into specific predictions. It focuses more on the inner transformation that might lead to such a shift.
So maybe less about sudden dramatic events and more about a gradual but like profound change in how we relate to ourselves, each other, the planet.
Exactly. Like imagine a change in the underlying operating system of humanity, a shift in values, priorities, how we perceive the world.
Okay, I can see that. But what kind of changes might we actually see, like as this new operating system takes hold?
Well, imagine a world where collaboration and cooperation are just the norm, where sustainability isn't just a buzzword, it's just how we live. A world where compassion and empathy are actually guiding our decisions, from personal relationships to global politics.
That sounds pretty utopian. I mean, do you really think a shift that big is possible, like within such a short time frame?
Well, the source material seems to suggest that the potential for this shift is already there,
Yeah.
within us. It's about tapping into that potential, individually and collectively.
So not about waiting for some external force to swoop in and save us. It's about recognizing that we have the power to create a better future.
Exactly. And the choices we make every day matter, from how we treat ourselves to how we engage with the world. It all contributes to that collective shift.
It's funny, thinking back to my decision to take that knitting class. It wasn't just about learning a new skill. It was about stepping outside my comfort zone, embracing a new possibility. And in a way, that small act of courage felt like a tiny step towards creating a future that was more me, you know? More aligned with my authentic self.
Exactly. It's those seemingly small choices that, when multiplied across millions of people, can create a ripple effect of transformation.
Yeah. It's a powerful reminder that even with all the uncertainty and craziness in the world, we can each make a difference. And that maybe, just maybe, the future isn't something to be afraid of, but an opportunity to create something amazing.
It all comes down to this. The future is fluid. It's a canvas waiting for us to paint our vision on it. It's up to each of us to decide what colors we want to use, what story we want to tell, what kind of world we want to leave behind.
That's a beautiful way to put it. I love that. The future isn't something that just happens to us. It's something we create together.
And if this conversation has sparked something in you, if it's left you with a sense of possibility, maybe even a little bit of hope, then our time together has been well spent.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the heart of the future. And until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, keep creating the world you want to see.